Evening, good afternoon, my friends and family members. I'm in the library, so you may hear an echo, but I found that this is a good place for me to go so I can have quiet and peace. Usually, nobody can bother me here, but if you're home, people have a tendency to drop by. So I hope you all are having a very lovely evening. Yes, it's interesting that President Trump yesterday made a huge announcement. It was a major announcement, and that's what he said he was going to do. That announcement came from his Truth Social platform. So a lot of people didn't know exactly where to go to hear this major announcement. And so we were all trying to figure out and guess what he's going to say, but he was emphatic about what he intends to do for certain. As Sister Mary Jacob said, he said, when I am inaugurated, I'm going to do A, B, C, and do D. He didn't say when I'm elected. He said, when I am inaugurated. He also said they will fall like dominoes. What are we talking about, family? We're going to get into that today. I don't know if you all want to hear the speech or hear parts of the speech, but if you do want to hear parts of the speech, then please type one in the chat. If you just want me to give you a summary, I can do that too because I took my notes. The speech was so good, family. A lot of people were a little upset. Good afternoon, Stephanie, Sister Stephanie Wilson. A lot of people were upset because they thought that the only speech or announcement that he made was that he was coming out with some cards, some Trump cards. So this president is so amazing. He is a genius, family members. Okay, summary. Okay, yes, the best is yet to come. Some people want to hear all of it. Some people want to hear part of it. Now, I might have to remove this video after the live is finished, or at least edit out some of it, because he was on fire with this speech. And he said so much that it could actually get my video flagged. It was great. Okay, some people are saying summary. It was a phenomenal speech. Okay, and I will give my opinion. Blessings to you too. Hey, she said she's from Jacksonville, Florida as well. And that's where I'm in. I'm in the South Side. So I love the great state of Florida. I love Jacksonville. He gave a great speech, family. And I think it's important. I said, why did you make a big deal of what old boy said? That was not news. Okay, so let's look at it. So let's get into the speech. Maybe it wasn't news to you, and I value your opinion. I just want to tell you that a lot of us who have been following this whole movement, the MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, we know that one of the last pieces of the puzzle, there were two final pieces of the puzzle. Now, one of the first pieces of the puzzle was the triangle of power had to be dismantled. The triangle of power was the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, George Soros and his whole organization, and the Saudi dynasty. So when that was obliterated, then we were told after the Queen when it was made an official announcement of her death would happen, then we would know that we're at the end of the war. So the last part of the war is a dismantling of mainstream media and those entities, big tech, that were censoring the people. And if and when, which we know they usually don't make his announcements, if they continued to censor us after he makes the huge announcement that he was going to end them, then we will have the emergency broadcast system announcement, the EBS. So for us who've been following this movement, who've been watching all the dominoes fall down and just completely fall down like dominoes, this whole system crash and come crumbling like dominoes, we know that this speech or this announcement was huge. And before he made that major announcement, he took to his social media platform on Truth Social and announced that he was coming out with cards, or the Trump cards. And people were upset. Oh my God, I can't believe he just announced he was just coming out with some cards, and they had Superman on there because he said America needs a superhero. Oh, I'm so upset. How dare he? Who cares? And by the way, the cards are going for $99. You're in Orange Park. That's only like 20 to, thank you, David. That's only like 20 to 25 minutes from me. Thank you so much. But notice it's the Trump card. And please understand and understand that on the front of the card, he said, I am displaying my art. And art, A-R-T, was written in all capital letters. So what we know is that Freemasons, which by the way, all leaders are Freemasons, and all Freemasons are not bad. It's just they're at the top, or I should say, they know some information that most of the world don't know. But they speak in a coded language. So when he said, I'm going to display my art, and he put it in all capital letters, I did the gematria of art. And what I came up with is Barack Obama, which is, I'm not sure why he would mention Barack Obama, and also the Big Bang. And then one of the words that vibrate on the same frequency as art is abracadabra. Now, what's important about abracadabra is it means I create as I speak. So when he was saying, I am going to announce my cards, the Trump cards, and all my art written in all capital letters, he was basically saying abracadabra. So you all know, you hear musicians, blessings to you, saying abracadabra. Now, some people, peace and love to you too. Some people say, oh, abracadabra is a bunch of gibberish. And even if you look it up on Google, it would say gibberish that magicians speak or something like that. But in actuality, abracadabra means to manifest as you speak, that your words cast spells, that your words materialize, they create. So when he was saying, I'm announcing my art, he was saying, abracadabra, what I'm speaking is coming into fruition as the words are coming out of my mouth. So he essentially on yesterday, he launched an attack against mainstream media and the social media giants that censor us. So all of those who have been attacking our freedom of speech, he was going after them. And he did it on December the 15th. What we know about December the 15th is that it's an amazing day in history. What happened on December the 15th, 1791? On December the 15th, 1791, the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments of the United States Constitution, went into effect. So basically, he giving a speech during the time when the Bill of Rights passed was such a big deal, because if you watch the end of his speech, he said, what I'm saying today is the Bill of Rights for freedom of speech. Let's see how he said it. He said, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights, a digital Bill of Rights. And this includes the right to due process. So essentially, he said, I'm sending letters to number 46's administration, and I'm sending letters to Silicon Valley big tech companies and anybody that has participated in the past to attack our freedom of speech, and anybody who has a social media platform. If you're doing it now, and if you've done it in the past, you are to cease and desist. And I want everybody to who get those letters to do it now, or else you will face serious penalties. That's huge. How can you think that's not a big announcement? That's huge, family. It's Troy. You're doing my beautiful patriot. How are you? I'm doing fabulous. Thank you. I shall intend. Yes, I shall definitely continue to do God's work. So again, he announced his art, or the cards, the Trump card. And then he announced that he was attacking people who had launched an attack on our freedom of speech. And the first thing you think of is not just the gematria of the word art, but you think of the art of war. Trump has had some military training. And when you are a commander in chief, you have to know the 48 laws of power and the art of war, written by, was it Sun Tzu? I think it's Sun Tzu. What is his name? But yes, so this is why this was a very pertinent speech, family. And before yes, somebody said art of war. Absolutely, Sister Mary Jacob. Thank you, Metroid, for being here. So hi, New Zealand. Family, let's look at briefly what occurred on December 15th, other than the Bill of Rights passing. This is going to be very, very interesting. What occurred on December the 15th? And here we go. Different things happened during December the 15th in history. Oh, I didn't get it. Let's see. It won't let me do it. Wow. Okay, there we go. Here on this day in history, I have something very interesting to share with you all that happened on this day in history. So these are the things, a few things that happened in history, okay? Um, Maiden flight Boeing 787, that was called the Dreamliner in 2009. Considered to be one of the Boeing's most fuel efficient airplanes, the Dreamliner suffered major problems on December the 15th in 1978. After 30 years of the creation of the People's Republic of China, President Jimmy Carter announced that the United States would formally recognize the communist country starting on January 1st. So the United States recognized China on December 15th in 1978. In 1939, the premiere of the Gone with the Wind movie. I don't know why that's significant, but that was an award-winning film. It premiered on December 15th. Here we go. In 1933, the 21st Amendment to the United States Constitution came into effect. Okay. And then the Bill of Rights passed in 1791. And then you have things that occurred in Britain, let's see, in Canada, and different deaths that occurred on this day. Now, that's not all. Something happened in Iraq on December the 15th. And for those of us who have Iraqi dinar and are invested in Iraq, we want to know anytime Iraq is in the news. So let's look at that, family. What occurred on December the 15th with Iraq? Isn't that interesting? Let's see. On this day, we went through that. Did you know this? Family, look at this. The United States declares an end to the war in Iraq. Now, that ceremony was held in Baghdad on December the 15th, 2011. The war that began in 2003 with the American-led invasion of Iraq officially comes to an end. So that is kind of interesting. And then it says the withdrawal of American troops had been a priority of President Barack Obama, but by the time he left office, the United States would again be conducting military operations in Iraq. But on December 15th, 2011, it was the end of the Iraqi war. So it's very interesting to me that President Trump chose December the 15th to make this big announcement of his art or his Trump cards. Remember, one of the things he did is pulled his Trump card against the deep state, because the deep state had been taking advantage of us and enslaved us as a nation and the entire world. So again, when he said his art, the vibration of that word, according to gematria, when you decode the word, is the same as abracadabra. I manifest as I speak. I create as I speak. So somebody said in the 1791 in reverse is 1971. We were taken off the gold standard. Thank you, Scott Powell. You all know I love talking about gold and silver. If you want to add gold and silver to your portfolio, you already know what to do. Contact Andy Scheckman at Miles Franklin by emailing him info@milesfranklin.com. Let him know Dr. Kia Pruitt sent you. Yada, yada, yada. He'll give you the best prices, but let's get back into this because that's very important. 1791 is the reversal of 1971 when we were taking off the gold standard. Perhaps something big is about to happen, especially since December the 15th was at the end of the Iraqi war. And you all know that the premier of Iraq recently made an announcement that he was going to revalue the IQD against the USD. And he also said he's going to work with, central banks to to revalue his currency against the USD, and he's going to work with other countries to restore his money or return his money back in his country. And he said he was going to completely eliminate corruption that was going on in his country. You're welcome. You are more than welcome. So, hi, family. Let's see. Yes, thank you so much, Scott. Hey, Nikki, I love you, sister. Thank you for being here. So, some of you have not heard that speech, and what I'm going to do is money is the no. Okay, I'm glad you said that, Primson. So the scripture doesn't actually say money is the root of all evil. The scripture says the love of money is the root of all evil. And so a lot of people, don't necessarily know the whole scripture. And basically, you need to exegete and eisegete the scriptures. So it means to actually look at the etymology of the words and also consider the historical context, what was going on during the day, and how to apply it to that time. So the love of money is the root of all evil, because people who love money, not necessarily what money can do for you, but who love money, have a tendency to be very greedy. Or the people during that time, they were taxing the everyday people, enriching themselves while keeping the other people poor. So thank you for bringing that up, because the actual scripture is the love of money is the root of all evil. And the reason I know the scripture is because, I've probably told you I was a minister and an ordained minister, ordained evangelist, and we had to learn the etymology of words and how to eisegete and exegete scriptures. So again, Twitter File 6 is out of, so you have to know how to break down the words and how to look at the definition of the words within its historical context, within the context in which it was stated. So thank you so much. Good evening. Ooh, from warm South Africa. I love you so much, Nikki. Nikki and I are part of a very sacred group that we created. People who just love studying what's going on, but we've become a family. So we study geopolitics, economics, and we crack jokes, and we just do things, amongst our little group. That's really a strong knit group. Thank you. So let me go over, would you be willing to use your prop firm interview, Lydia? I sure would. Oh my God. Okay. Absolutely. If she would like to come on, we would love to interview her. Aren't all presidents under oath to keep the Goem enslaved? Perhaps, but some of them may have been liberated through those entities that have come to help us, to help liberate humanity. Some of them may have been able to escape that. So that's a good idea. That's a good thing that you brought up. So family, again, should I just read who wants to hear the whole speech? The speech is 6 minutes. I don't know if you want to hear the whole speech or just the summary, but I do have the summary of President Trump's speech. And I can do both, but again, I may have to take this down. Let's see if I can. Do you want to listen to the speech? Type 1 if you want to listen to the speech. If you don't want to, okay. If you don't want to listen to the speech, type 2. Or I can play the speech. I'll tell you that. Read it, please. Okay, I can play the speech, or and I can give you a summary, and you can always, come back and listen to it. So let's go ahead and see. You didn't hear it? Some people are saying 2, some people are saying 1. What's a way that I can help everybody? So yeah, because the speech is 6 minutes, and I don't want anybody to miss it. Also, I don't want to take up your time. What you can do is go to Truth Social under Donald, play it, then review it. I'm in the library, so it's got all kind of news coming. I'm sorry, not news, but noises. So you have to go to Truth Social to hear his speech, and I will also give you a summary. It's really good. It's really good, especially. So if you want to take notes, and if not, what I'll do for you is I'll give you a summary. Okay. So let's see what he said. And you all told me to mute it, so I know to do that. And let me know that you can hear it, okay? When I mute it, please type 1 in the speech, 1 in the chat if you can hear it. I'm about to mute it so you can hear this.
We don't have free speech then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away. In recent weeks, bombshell reports have confirmed that a sinister group of deep state bureaucrats, Silicon Valley tyrants, left-wing activists, and depraved corporate news media have been conspiring to manipulate and silence the American people. They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything from elections to public health. The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan. First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens. I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis- or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. Second, I will order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible, and to aggressively prosecute any and all crimes identified. These include possible violations of federal civil rights law, campaign finance laws, federal election law, securities law, and antitrust laws, the Hatch Act, and a host of other potential criminal, civil, regulatory, and constitutional offenses. To assist in these efforts, I am urging House Republicans to immediately send preservation letters, and we have to do this right now, to the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, and every Silicon Valley tech giant, ordering them not to destroy evidence of censorship. Third, upon my inauguration as president, I will ask Congress to send a bill to my desk revising Section 230 to get big online platforms out of censorship business. From now on, digital platforms should only qualify for immunity protection under Section 230 if they meet high standards of neutrality, transparency, fairness, and non-discrimination. We should require these platforms to increase their efforts to take down unlawful content such as child exploitation and promoting terrorism, while dramatically curtailing their power to arbitrarily restrict lawful speech. Fourth, we need to break up the entire toxic censorship industry that has arisen under the false guise of tackling so-called mis- and disinformation. The federal government should immediately stop funding all nonprofits and academic programs that support this authoritarian project. If any U.S. university is discovered to have engaged in censorship activities or election interferences in the past, such as flagging social media content for removal of blacklisting, those universities should lose federal research dollars and federal student loan support for a period of 5 years and maybe more. We should also enact new laws laying out clear criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to do an end run around the Constitution and deprive Americans of their First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. In other words, deprive them of their vote. And once you lose those elections, and once you lose your borders like we have, you no longer have a country. Furthermore, to confront the problems of major platforms being infiltrated by legions of former deep staters and intelligence officials, there should be a 7-year cooling off period before any employee of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DNI, DHS, or DOD is allowed to take a job at a company possessing vast quantities of U.S. user data. Fifth, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content, not send information requests such as the FBI was sending to Twitter. Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted, no matter what name they use, they should have the right to be informed that it's happening, the right to a specific explanation of the reason why, and the right to a timely appeal. In addition, all users over the age of 18 should have the right to opt out of content moderation and curation entirely and receive an unmanipulated stream of information if they so choose. The fight for free speech is a matter of victory or death for America and for the survival of Western civilization itself. When I am president, this whole rotten system of censorship and information control will be ripped out of the system at large. There won't be anything left. By restoring free speech, we'll begin to reclaim our democracy and save our nation. Thank you, and God bless America.
Hey, all right, family. Did you enjoy that speech? And did you notice at the end it said, what did it say? Text 88022. Do you all know what 88022 is? So 8 is the number of abundance and prosperity, right? That was a phenomenal speech, but I want to talk about what happened at the end of that speech. Text 88022. So 8 is a number of prosperity and abundance. And also 8 was August 8th, which was the Lion's Gate. And so our ancestors and ancients through all our history have always acknowledged the Lion's Gate as being a time when something happened in the heavens, or through astrology, I believe it's called. And during that time, it's supposed to give you a period of bursting through the portal, because a portal opens and you're supposed to burst through the portal, roaring like a lion, declaring your victory. So on 8/8, during the Lion's Gate or the portal, you all know something significant did happen on that day, right? Do you remember what happened on August the 8th? Who remembers what happened on August the 8th? So at the end of all his speeches, it says text 88. Let's see if I can see it. Oh man, I don't have it up here. I thought I had it. Yes, it should be. I don't see it up here, but do you all remember what happened on August 8th? On August the 8th, 2022, Mar-a-Lago was raided during the Lion's Gate. And I made an announcement on that day. I said, trust and believe Donald Trump knew that his home at Mar-a-Lago was going to be raided on this day because it's a significant day. They do everything based on numerology and astrology. So 8/8 again was the Lion's Portal, or the Lion's Gate. So you're supposed to come bursting through the portal, bursting onto the scenes, declaring your victory and roaring like a lion. So essentially that time was a period of, although Mar-a-Lago was raided, Trump was making a big statement that I knew you were going to do that, but I'm going to be victorious over that. Hi, family. So let's talk about that speech. Yes, that was 6 minutes. That was very fast. So let's talk about that speech that he gave. So basically, again, the speech was made on December the 15th, 2022. And what he said is, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. So we already know that December 15th, 1791 was when the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, went into the effect. So he said this was going to be a digital Bill of Rights this day, which include the right to digital due process, meaning that if your content as a content creator, or if you have social media platform, if you've been attacked or censored or caught being having spread misinformation or disinformation, you have to be notified before they take down your platform. That's what due process is. And you have to be given a sufficient amount of time to appeal it. So let's go back into all the things. So there were 5 points to this speech. If you're inclined to write it down, please write down the 5 points. So I might edit the first part of this and take out his speech and just post the 5 points. I'm not sure, but let's go on and talk about the 5 points of President Trump's speech on the day that the anniversary of the Bill of Rights. So first, he said, I'm going to sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any agency, business, or person that censors the American citizens. And I'm going to ban any federal money from being used to label domestic speech as misinformation or disinformation. That was point number 1. Absolutely. And he said, when I'm inaugurated, not if I'm inaugurated, not when I run, when I'm inaugurated. I'm already the president, the 19th president of the United States Republic. The second point of his speech is he will order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in any online censorship. The online censorship regime, he said, and to expedite this, he's sending letters to number 46 and his entire administration, and he's going to send it to Silicon Valley big tech giants. The third point is he's going to ask Congress to send a bill to his desk revising Section 230 to get big online platforms out of the censorship business. And should anybody qualify for immunity or immunity protection, they have to meet high standards of neutrality, transparency, fairness, and non-discrimination. He also said he will require platforms to take down any unlawful content such as child exploitation. We have been waiting for this, for him to attack what's been going on with our children. He said, I'm requiring all platforms to take down unlawful content such as child exploitation and any content that highlights or promotes terrorism. Number 4, he said, I'm going to break up the entire toxic censorship industry. Now, when you talk about censorship industry, you're not just talking about online censorship, you're talking about mainstream media as well. He said, I'm going to break up the entire toxic censorship industry that has arisen under the guise of misinformation and disinformation. And I'll stop funding all nonprofit and academic programs that support this authoritarian project. Somebody said, watch the water. Oh, yes, right. Mar-a-Lago was raided, which is important. It's from sea to lake. Yes. I've been to Mar-a-Lago, well, past it. It's beautiful. So this is really interesting that he said he's going to stop funding from all nonprofit and academic entities that support authoritarian projects. On the speech a while back, he and Melania were announced as the president and first lady of the United States. Oh, thank you for saying that. Hi, Matthew. It's always good to see you. Thank you so much. I just love you. Thank you for your blessing. You always come through to help us, sister. All of you, I'm just so grateful to have you. Thank you, Matthew. Peace and prosperity to you. So I didn't even know that academic programs did things to censor the American people. But he says he's going to break up the system and stop funding all nonprofit and academic projects. And he says if any university found guilty of having censored anybody, he's going to make sure they lose all of their research dollars and their student loan support. Now, I don't know if you all know this, but I worked for Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia. That's where Randy Moss went to school. And we went to school at the same time, but Randy was in undergrad school. I was an older student. I was in graduate school. So yes, I got to meet Randy. I got to talk to him. And of course, he asked his boys to bring me over to him because he didn't come over to girls. Women came over to him, but I was older. He might've been like 20, 21. I was probably about almost 28, something like that. And although we all knew he was going to be a famous football player, he was in the news a lot for doing things. Now, I was like, first of all, I'm older. And secondly, he messed with too many girls. But anyway, but I did not know that academic programs actually censored us. Now, what I was going to say to you is I worked for institutions of academia and what I learned when I worked at Marshall. Oh, and I worked at Shawnee State, my undergrad institute too, in Portsmouth, Ohio. And I worked at the University of Louisville in Louisville, Kentucky. Especially when I was in a medical school, working in for the School of Medicine at the University of Louisville, I realized that these universities receive millions and millions and millions of dollars in research funds. Why do you need millions of dollars of research funds? I'm getting off track. To prevent cancer when you're not really researching how to prevent cancer. And if you created the disease, you know how to get rid of it. That's another story. But anyway, he's going to stop the funding if he's found out that that nonprofit organizations or academic organizations have censored the American people. And he said he's going to do that to those that support this authoritarian project. So family, what's interesting is that I study words, and as somebody who studies psychology in undergrad school, I know there's a difference between authoritative and authoritarian. So he said he's going to withhold support from these people that have supported the authoritarian project of censoring people. Authoritative and authoritarian are different. So if he would have said authoritative person is somebody that's assertive, that's a leader, that's strong, that knows how to convince you, that knows how to guide you. They do it with confidence. But authoritarian is a regime or a person that seeks to control you. They are totalitarian. They are dictators. So this is what he's essentially saying. These people have been dictatorial, and I'm going to take away their funding. And then number 5, he says, finally, the time has come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This includes the right to digital due process. And he ended by saying, when I am president, the whole rotten system of censorship and information control will be ripped out of the system at large, and there won't be anything left of it. So I thought that was very, very important for him to announce. I found that speech and that announcement to be amazing. I find it to be huge because announcing that you are attacking the system, the totalitarian, authoritarian system that have censored us. Oh, a super sticker. Thank you. Oh, Gloria, thank you, sister. I love you so much. I appreciate you for blessing me. Family, thank you for the super stickers. Thank you for sending, and messages. Oh, sister, you know what, Sister Gloria? Oops, the lights were dimming. I am honored to be a reflection of you. So you don't have to idolize me, sister, because I am just your mirror image. And that's how we all came together. We all resonate on the same frequency. So we all agreed to be here at such a time as this, to experience this, to witness it, to see it, and to help liberate the planet. And since we were all vibrating on the same frequency, our Creator brought us all here together. So I love you. He's telling everyone he's on his way back. Yes, absolutely. Just as it was told by God's prophets. So they can attack the ones about it or exposing it. Trump and Kanye was putting in place to take down the woke community. Okay, that was their purpose. So family, that's what I wanted to bring to you today. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you again for the super sticker. Thank you all. Thank you, Matthew and Gloria. Let's see what else. Family, I do want to say something else. I'm thinking I'll probably have to take this down. Hey, Doc and chat, because I'm assuming that, they're still censoring us. But I wanted to tell you another article came out that was very important today. And I think that article came out today. Let's see what that article is. And I don't want to keep too much of your time. Let's see. There was a very important article that just came out. Let me see. What is it? This here is huge. Look at this. Netanyahu, peace with Saudis would end the Arab-Israeli conflict. Isn't that interesting? Benjamin Netanyahu told the Washington Examiner that a peace deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia would end the Arab-Israeli conflict. Last week, it was reported that Israel's former UN ambassador, now a member of the incoming coalition, said that the new government will expand the Abraham Accords and sign a peace treaty with Saudi Arabia. Netanyahu, who's about to become Israel's prime minister for the sixth time, told the Examiner that such a peace deal would effectively end the Arab-Israeli conflict. Now, I don't know how people feel about Netanyahu, whether he's, benevolent or nefarious, but why this is so critical to me is because growing up, I've always heard that the war between the Middle East and Israel was actually biblical, and that it goes all the way back to Ishmael and Isaac fighting. And I believe we're Ishmael and Isaac twins. So if this indeed is an end to the conflict, this is huge because according to Nasara and Jasara law, in order for Nasara and Jasara to be implemented, all countries have to agree to world peace. So we know that 209 countries behind the scenes agreed to world peace. So we're seeing it come out little by little that people are announcing peace agreements. Peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel sounds amazing to me. And I'm wondering if at some point Israel is going to make an announcement that they're joining BRICS, because you all know it's just interesting how people keep talking about Saudi Arabia, because the BRICS Union, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa have a united entity or a union agreement between them that was already formed. But at one particular time, after Russia left the United States dollar, because Russia went over into a ukulele, and they say they're causing problems, but they're actually trying to bring that entity back under their umbrella. 46 put a sanction on Russia. So Russia said, forget that. You can put sanctions on us all you want. We'll just leave the United States dollar. How about that? Meet me outside. How about that? Y'all know that Dr. Phil show, that part where this girl became popular by saying, catch me outside. How about that? So basically, that's what Russia said. Catch me outside. Meet me outside. How about that? They said, we're not going to continue to trade using the United States dollar. We're going to leave the United States dollar, and we are going to go to gold or a basket of currencies that are supported by or backed by gold. This is Jasara happening right before our eyes. So once Russia left, then they led the BRICS nations to leave. But a lot of people don't know that Zimbabwe left around the same time as Russia, and they announced that they were minting gold coins and that they had a gold system that was backed by gold financial system. So Zimbabwe left, Russia left. And when Russia left, they led other people, the whole BRICS Union, to leave. And then I've already talked about all the countries that have agreed to leave. And I made that announcement even before the Russian premier announced the other day that 12 or a dozen nations were joining BRICS. I announced that a month before because, we just know, we first of all, we were told this years ago, but you can see it playing out. So then when all these nations left, so there was a dozen announced, and then there were several other nations that are being invited to join the BRICS Union. They left the United States dollar. Okay, so the dollar is declining in value, it's losing its value. So if you have money in a system, it could be protected, but if you want to be on the safe side, you might, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, left only enough in there to pay bills, and the rest, put it and do whatever you have to do to make sure it's safe, whether it's in real estate, or some of you believe do digital currencies. I don't, but I did just a little in digital currencies just so I can diversify, but put it in silver and gold and precious metals, save some cash because the whole system is imploding. The housing market is crashing. All these houses are being dumped back into the system, you all, because during the pandemic, what happened? Right after the pandemic, what happened is these big companies like Open Door, Zillow, and other big companies bought up a whole bunch of houses, right? Being greedy, talking about the love of money being the root of all evil. Somebody brought up that scripture. They bought up all of these houses, and they did a little fixing up of those houses, and then some of the houses they added on big fees, or they doubled them in prices, or they, inflated the prices. On top of that, we already have inflation with all this printing of money and with all these countries dumping the dollars little by little, because these countries were dumping dollars way before people were made aware of this. Once that happened, then People who were trying to flee certain states rushed to buy these houses that were like in warmer climates, or these houses that were in red states, or states that were called free states like Texas, like Florida, and states, that might have been a little less costly, even though the houses were, inflated. People moved and rushed into those houses. Well, when inflation continued to go up because of the dumping of the dollars and all this quantitative easing, which is just money printing, people now, and then the interest rates kept going up, people could not afford the houses any longer. So what do you see happening is you see all those big companies that bought up those houses dumping those houses back onto the market. What else happened? Well, all the builders who were building up houses when there was a mad dash into, like, people leaving the Bay Area in California, then moving to Sacramento, because although Sacramento was still very expensive, it was a lot less expensive than the Bay Area. So you see, people were still migrating. Well, after the inflation kept going up, and those houses, people could no longer afford it. The builders who had been building up houses, they not only couldn't afford the supplies, but when you had an interruption of the supply chain, they stopped building in the middle of building up all these developments. So what are you saying, Dr. Pruitt? What I'm saying is now reports are coming out that the housing market is turning around. Now, the nefarious people in power, they're going to continue to hike up the interest rates, because they know that more people are ready to buy houses now that the houses are being dumped onto the market for cheaper prices. So they're trying to jack up the interest rates, but they won't be able to continue to do that too much longer. So back to your money being in the bank. You can take that money, and if you still have it when the system implodes and all those houses rush back onto the bank and the dollar completely falls in value, you will be able to go up and buy up those houses, okay, very, very cheaply. So we already know that banks are failing. On tomorrow's podcast, I'm going to talk to you about how banks are failing, how the stock market is crashing, and we've been saying this is going to happen. It's not that, some of us are anointed as prophets and prophetesses, but some of us have simply been given a word that this is going to happen, okay? So people in power that know what's going to happen told some people what was going to happen. So that's why we've been able to report it. But I want to tell you how the system is imploding. And you know that when the system implodes and banks get in trouble, banks either do a bailout or a bail-in. So a bailout is when those homes should be put on a wait. Yes, and given back. I'm going to speak to that. A bailout is when the government bails out the banks because they're too big to fail. A bail-in is when the government takes your money and my money, and the banks, not the government, steal that money that we've given to them, which really is kind of not stealing, because the fine print I've heard in the banking policy was such that if you turn over the money, it belongs to them. I don't know, but not what they say, possession is 9/10 of the law. And if you possess my money, then maybe it really is yours. But they can take our money and get themselves out of trouble. So what you want to do is just protect yourself, family, so that when the system implodes, you'll be able to buy up these businesses, because businesses are closing their doors. They're laying off by the tens of thousands, and you will be able to buy land, farmland, gas, oil, whatever your heart's desire. You'll be able to buy more precious metals, silver and gold. So when the republic is restored, we will be given with allodial titles to our land. That's what I want to say, El God. So the allodial title is the true lawful title, the original title, which we don't hold right now. I guess the banks have them. Open Door Society was calling, asking if you want to sell your house. Wow. I didn't know it was funded or backed by George Soros. So fasting. Awesome. You know what? I think I want to join you. Tell me what that fast consists of. So maybe some of our family members will want to join you. So family, again, I just wanted to bring that information out to you, that, President Trump made a very important announcement that he was going after big tech for censoring us. He was going after all of those entities that censored us. Even if you were a nonprofit organization, institutions of higher education, mainstream media, big tech, Silicon Valley corporations, and he said he was sending letters to number 46. And I think, is that, oh, and I also wanted to just tell you all that Saudi Arabia ending the war between them and Israel is amazing. It's huge because, again, Saudi Arabia, this is what I was talking about. When Russia and the BRICS Union left the United States dollar, that brought the value of the USD down. Then we saw Saudi Arabia making an announcement to join the BRICS Union, which, as you all know on this channel, was huge because what made the United States dollar the world reserve currency, or the currency that all the world had to use, and specifically use to trade for oil or fuel, was our agreement with Saudi Arabia. You give us the oil, Saudi Arabia, was our United States government agreement, and we will protect your nation and force other nations to use the United States dollar to trade for your oil. So that was huge. That's what made the United States dollar the world reserve currency. Now, a lot of people know about OPEC. A lot of people know that we were taking off the gold standard, but they did not know what made United States dollar the world reserve currency. And some people know who studied in history, but more recently, Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin, stated this emphatically on many of his podcasts and on my podcast to make us aware that when Saudi Arabia essentially left the United States dollar and joined the BRICS Union, that was huge. So we can surmise that that essentially ended United States hegemony, the power that the United States had, because it wasn't just the dollar that kept everybody in check, but it was our ability to force them through our military. Either you use the United States dollar or we'll get rid of you. Okay, we'll use our military to get rid of you. So when Saudi Arabia left that agreement, or when they went to the BRICS Union, they practically dismantled the whole agreement of the United States dollar having preeminence and United States hegemony or United States power. The whole system has come down, and a lot of people don't even know that it has crashed before our eyes already. So once Saudi Arabia left, again, like I said, all these other nations left. Essentially 90% of the world's population is now using other commodities, namely gold, other than the United States dollar, to trade. So having Saudi Arabia to be brought back in the news and saying that they're going to have peace agreements with Israel is huge, because that conflict has been going on through generations. And some say ever since biblical time, since Isaac and Ishmael were at war. And if I remember my biblical history correct, Isaac and Ishmael were brothers, not twins, but brothers. One was born of a wife, a lawful wife, and one was born, I believe, of a concubine, which still they were considered wives or second or third wives or whatever. So that conflict has been going on forever. To hear that there's going to be peace between them probably means that we're about to hear announcements of having world peace. So I wouldn't be surprised if we will hear soon that Israel is going to do something like join the BRICS nation. It's 1864 all over again, really. So I don't know who Gary Larrabee is. Somebody tell me who that is. So family, I really wanted you to know that. Let's see, RSB was blocked. Okay. I feel that in my soul. Israel, Saudi will change the game in this local universe. I really feel that way. When I saw that announcement, I was like, that's huge. Thank you for mentioning that. So I think I probably, you're welcome. Oh, you're welcome, Viola. Thank you so much for saying that. I think I will probably, you just brought it all full circle. I will probably take this one down. What you all think? You think this one would get flagged? Or maybe I should edit it? This goes along with the 17th letter. What the 17th letter has been telling us is Israel would be last. So this agreement that Saudi Arabia and Israel are going to have peace between them is a very huge announcement. Saving Israel for last. Amen and hallelujah. That's some good news to end on. Anything else, family, that you would like to ask me? Any questions? I believe it's almost time for me to go. You knew it. You knew it, sis. You knew it. Wow, well, you were right. What you meant, you knew that Israel and Saudi Arabia would come to a peace agreement? Well, you were right. I hope this information has encouraged you, because sometimes when we hear these speeches and we don't know necessarily what they're saying, or we don't know how to decode them, we can get discouraged. I love you. Oh, thank you so much, Sister Teresa. We can get discouraged. So, our job being here at this time, family, since we agreed to come on a Saturday. Let's see, what time should we do a podcast? I'm thinking in the morning, like at 11 in the morning might be a good time to do a podcast tomorrow. Uh, let's see. Do you guys think morning or evening? What about the true Israel here in America? The true Israelites here in America, the first Israelites are actually the copper colored people, or the indigenous people, because Israel is in America. Israel's in America, Egypt's in America. What else is in America? A lot of those countries all over the world that were actually named after the Americas, or after America, because this is where the Moroccan Empire was. So the copper colored people, who are the indigenous people that were erroneously classified as Black, are actually Israelites. So those people were actually, they were the indigenous people. They were classified as what were they classified as? Colored, then Negro, and then Black, which was a derogatory term. But it became popularized when James Brown, who was probably under their spell and under their power, came out with that song, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." But back in the day, that was a derogatory term, because it means bleak, pale, blank, void. And that brings me to something that a lot of us probably should come to an awareness of. It also means that you're a slave. It means you're dead. So they got us to cast spells upon ourselves to call us Black. But according to the Black's Law Dictionary, or the dictionary from which the legal system operates, it means bleak, void, pale, having no power, being dead. And then our classification was changed to African American. And some people say that Jesse Jackson was an FBI agent. I don't know if he was or not, but he was charged with coming up with a name for us. And allegedly, he owns the copyright to that name called African American. But Black, according to what many Moors state, specifically the Moor known as Taj Tariq Bey, or the Grand Sheikh of the Moors. And you can watch him and Sister Naila Gilliam on their YouTube channel called House of Reawakening Minds. So they have good podcasts. You have to watch that to learn about the Moors specifically, and watch Brother Lloyd Douglas L's YouTube channel called Moors in America. So according to what we know, is Blacks were actually that the classification of Black was actually given to the Europeans that came here from Europe. Allegedly, and white was the status of the people that were in power, that were already here because they owned the land. So it used to be that they gave us all of us these derogatory terms, and then they switched it, because everything we've been taught is actually in reverse. So when people say Black Lives Matter, some people say that it could have been about the copper colored people erroneously classified as Black, or it could have been about the people that we allowed to come on the land to actually conduct commerce with us. So many people want to cause this division between so-called Black and white, but that's a misnomer. It is an erroneous classification, because we're all part of the one. We all come from source. We are gods and goddesses, since we were made in the image of source, and we all vibrate on the same frequency. Specifically, especially as we ascend into higher states of consciousness. And if you choose to die or transition, you will go back to the source. So when Kanye West said, wore on his shirt, "White Lives Matter," he could have been talking about our Caucasian brothers and sisters, because that's the classification that they are now called, or he could have been talking about the Moors specifically, because the Moors actually used to have that classification as white. But for us here in this family, it's neither here nor there. We don't care, because all of us are going to be rewarded. Yes, the Israelites here, or the copper colored people here, have been mistreated as well as our Caucasian brothers and sisters and everybody else. We do know that the powers that be cause a division to get us fighting each other, to cause some to think that you're better than the other, or this one to think that you should be over the other, because it's a divide and conquer type system. However, we don't buy into that because we know that we are one again. And let's just say we're even the Israelites, yes, were the copper colored people here. And if you look at the 1828 Webster's definition of American, it will say the copper colored people found here by Christopher Columbus, but now applied to Europeans. And then it will go on to say something like, but we're all American. So you probably should look at that. And when you look at the writings of the people that came here from Europe, when they talked about the natives here or the indigenous people, they said they were tawny or dark brown, or they were copper color. They had nappy, kinky hair and big nostrils, et cetera, et cetera. So the whole story about all of us coming from Africa in slave ships was a lie. And you don't even have to look at history books to know that. All you have to do is talk to your great grandparents and people, before you. They passed down those stories that you got Indian in your family, you're Cherokee, you're Choctaw, you're this, you're that, you're Blackfoot. But the very exciting thing about that is even our Caucasian brothers and sisters have the same blood. They, a lot of them have been mixed in. So that's what I mean. Like when you make love to each other, you make love to each other. Okay. You become one because the blood is intertwined. But back to your question, what's going to happen to the Israelites here in America? Empress Verdiasti Gostin L. Turner Bay took the United States government, the United States Incorporated, that was founded in 1871 and incorporated in Delaware, and the same one that created the Constitution of the United States Incorporated, and the same one who created the central banking system, that bloodline family. She took them to the World Court in the 1990s and proved by bringing the allodial title to the land that the people in power used some of our Caucasian brothers and sisters, but they were like the hybrids that were mixed blood with some of the entities that came on the planet to enslave us. And this is not to speak against any of our brothers and sisters. What she proved is that the Louisiana Purchase was actually a Louisiana theft. So she proved that the land actually belonged. Happy Sabbath. Yes. Is the sun down? Shabbat Shalom. If the sun is down, Shabbat Shalom, Lonnie. She proved that the United States government had mistreated the indigenous people on the land. And she won her case. And she proved, as well as there was a letter that was written, motu proprio, by the Pope Francis, and sent to Obama via his attorneys, that of course said the United States Corporation was an unlawful entity and that we needed to make sure that the FBI, CIA, IRS, CPS, all those organizations tied to it, and the central banking system had to cease and desist according to that letter. And what he said is, if that does not happen, then the Grand Army of the Republic will come into the forefront and take down those nefarious entities. Of course, they didn't cease and desist. So what we see now is literally the military taking over, just as he said he would, just as he said in 2014, and dismantling the system, with the commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, leading that charge. This is why we need to stop looking at being, only being concerned about color, because we've all been enslaved. And we talked about that when we talked on a couple of days ago about our birth certificates being turned into a bond and traded on the New York Stock Exchange as, trading us as chattel. They created entities in our name and traded our stock, our birth certificate bond, made all this money, and the money is just still sitting there and was supposed to be used to charge off our debt. So when Empress Verdiasti L. Turner Bay took the United States Incorporated to court, she won her case, and she won an amount of $85 quadrillion for the Israelite people here. Now, when you talk to Brother Willie, you go online, look at williestruthcall.com. He has a number you can call in and talk to him. He's followed the farmers' claims and all that. Might have even been a part of farmers' claims. He says that includes all, some of that will include other people on the land who also mixed in with the Israelites. So what will happen to the Israelites? They will be fine. They will be liberated just as well as the other people, and they'll get part of that $85 quadrillion. But in addition to that, trillions of dollars will be injected into the economy to help all of humanity. And some of you will get that money, and you will be the stewards of that money, whether it be through, they had some humanitarian funds that were actually talked about in the 90s, and people joined those groups. A lot of people don't know about this. They submitted their name, their ID, they had a background check, they had to submit humanitarian projects. This was a while ago. And they were told when we return to when the Republic is restored and when the gold standard is returned, they were told that, as well as Empress Verdiasti Gostinell Turner Bay, as well as the farmers who took the United States Corporation to court. They were all told, and what is it, CMKLX, something, some kind of, they were all other sellers, CMKX, you all know what it, the settlements. They were all told that when the Republic is restored and our gold, we're on the gold standard, all that money would be disseminated. So I know that was a long way of answering the question, but I tried to give a detailed answer when you all asked me something. Is he going to get rid of fake Israel? We are South America here, United States, and they are North America. I don't know what Trump's going to do, honestly. That's what I have to say about that. I don't know about all those things, but family, it's all about bloodline. Okay, let's just continue to strengthen and encourage each other. Let's get rid of all this division between Black, white, religions, Muslim, Christian, gender wars. Let's just know that we are all belong to the Creator. We all belong to the Creator, to Source. That's the first law of nature, okay? That we're all the law of oneness. We're all one. We came from Source. We have the vibrations and energy of Source. We have all the DNA of Source, so to speak. And we came from Source, not just us as humans, but also the extraterrestrials, interterrestrials, the water, the sky, the animals, the insects, everything, the dirt, everything that's made, the stars, the constellations. We all come from one. We all are a part of one. And if we decide to leave here or transition, energy cannot be destroyed. It only changes from one form to another. So we will all return to Source. From Source we have come, and Source we will go. So what is important? It's important to keep our vibrations high, to encourage each other, to love each other, to help each other, and to support each other. So my name again, y'all know I'm about to wrap this up. Oh, before I do, if you are so inclined and you would desire to add precious metals to your portfolio, let me know. Your girl is on fire. One day alone, we were able to sell, just one day from our family, $100,000 worth of precious metals in one day. Like, it's just going, that's just one. When I saw it, I was like, oh my God, $100,000. Like, wow. So that's not even included what's been done since I've been, really pushing gold and silver. And I'm happy about that because everybody's getting to it. You all know that central banks are buying up gold en masse. They're hoarding gold. What do you call it? When it's July, August, September, October. I can't even think the name of that. But during those 4 months, last quarter, I knew it started with a Q alone, 400 million tons of gold was bought. We don't even know how much silver was bought, but we know that banks are hoarding golds and silver. So family members, think of the millions and millions of people that died that did not draw. I know, right? Because you had the Social Security bond being circulated on the New York Stock Exchange. Then you have all these entities. I have 33,000 or 34,000, something like that, entities trading under my Social Security number. And only God knows how much is being traded under your Social Security number. You can look at that. Look at my videos from like 2 or 3 days ago by going to gmeiutility.org, go /search, or either go to the search part, the magnifying glass, type in your Social Security number with the dashes, and you'll see all the entities that are trading or have been trading under your Social Security number. So I almost lost my track. So 400, no, 4, was it 400? what I say, 400 million tons of gold was bought up by the banks last quarter alone. So you have that happening. You have countries repatriating their gold back to them. You have billionaires buying into gold. Follow the money. People are leaving the United States dollar and taking that money and rolling it over into precious metals. If you are so inclined to do so, it's totally up to you. I'm not trying to, force anybody or say you better or you have to. Listen, if this is what you desire to do, I am an affiliate with Andy Scheckman of Miles Franklin. He's been in business 33 years, never had one single complaint. He's about at $8 billion in sales right now, never had one complaint, with an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. I mean, you can look his name up. You don't see any type of scandal tied to his name. That kind of stuff is important to me. I want to know, are you an ethical person? Not just is your business ethical, but are you an ethical person when you're dealing with people's money, right? So this is why we chose to go with him. He said if our family members buy gold from him or desire to, send an email at info@milesfranklin.com. Ask for inventory, list of his inventory, plus prices. He will answer any questions, or he or his brokers will call you back and answer questions, family. Then he'll take your order. If you mention that Dr. Kia Pruitt sent you, you'll get the best prices in the industry, and he promises that. So my name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope, I trust that I've said something to raise your vibrations and cause you to go out and manifest the most amazing, magnificent, glorious reality that you desire and deserve. All right, my time is up here in the library. I love you all. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your love and your support. Thank you so much for the Cash App. And just in case you want to know, my Cash App is Mama Kia 13, MAMAKIA 13, just in case. Thank you for the love, the donations, the super chat, I think they call it, the super sticker, whatever. So that's it, family. I love you all so much. It's time for me to go get the grandbabies. The sun probably is down. So somebody said Shabbat Shalom, which for us is the seventh day Sabbath, which starts on Friday night as the sun goes down, and it goes all the way Saturday. And then it ends when the sun goes down on Saturday. And that's the end of the Sabbath. So that's it. You're welcome. I love you too. I'll have to see how much of this I'm going to edit before I post it. Peace, family. Have a wonderful, glorious weekend. Make it great. Peace.